Hi everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, Glam By Sam. Today's video for Vlogmas day 14, I'm bringing you a really exciting video because I'm finally going to be ranking all of my eyeshadow palettes. I have quite a lot of eyeshadow palettes, and this morning I sat down and I thought which ones are my absolute favorites, which ones do I not like as much as my top favorites. So I ranked all of them from last to first place, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys which palettes I ranked in which position today and also tell you why. We're quickly going to get started because I have quite a few eyeshadow palettes, so if you want to see how I ranked all of my eyeshadow palettes for 2021, then please keep watching. I have 34 eyeshadow palettes in total, which I definitely used to own more, but I have decluttered quite a few and now I have 34 left. So I'm going to show you all of them and tell you what I think of them. So in place 34, I ranked my BH Cosmetics Weekend Vibe Avocado Toast Palette, and I'm going to start off by saying I did not rank this in place 34 because it's a bad palette. Well, technically, I don't know. I ranked this in place 34 because I have not tried this palette. I'm ashamed by it. I really wanted it. I got it like 4 months ago and I still haven't used it. So that is why I decided to rank it last place, because it wouldn't be fair to like rank this in like the top 10 if I haven't even tried it. But this is just the Avocado Toast palette. It's such a cute little palette and I really want this because I absolutely love avocados. So the color story just looks like this. I really like the holographic background, but the shades are all like green tones, and there was a time when I really wanted this and I thought I would wear a lot of green eyeshadow, but realistically speaking, I'm just not a green eyeshadow person. It is one I'm keeping in my collection because I would love to give this a try and see what I actually think of green eyeshadow, because I heard this is an amazing palette, but for today's video I decided to rank it in place 34 just because I haven't tried it yet. In place 33, I have my Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. I'm ranking this in this position because it is an older palette. I got this in 2019, which is 2 years ago, and I feel like right now this palette isn't really very relevant anymore. It's kind of one that was like trendy for a while, but then like after the hype died, not a lot of people were interested in it anymore. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, you have all of these super colorful shades, which I really like the shades in here, but I always found it difficult to create a like cohesive look with this just because the shades are kind of a bit all over the place. But as you can see, especially the top shimmers, I have definitely used this one quite a bit and I did enjoy the looks that I created with this. It was just a bit more difficult to create a cohesive look with this. I got this as a gift from my boyfriend, so that is why I'm keeping it, but I had to rank it in place number 33 because I don't really use it anymore. And it was always a bit hard to create looks with it. In place 32, we have the KKW Beauty Classic 1 eyeshadow palette. This eyeshadow palette is one I used to want for quite a long time, and I finally got it because I really like the color story. First of all, I think the packaging is really sleek. But the shades look like this, and they're definitely beautiful shades. This is not a bad palette at all. I feel like all the palettes I still have in my collection are really good palettes. So it's not like place number 33 is a bad palette, it's just like not my favorite right now. And the reason why this is ranking so low is because KKW Beauty is closed. They were rebranding, but they still haven't like launched a new thing. And to be honest, I still think that's kind of weird. They went out of business in August and it's now December and they haven't released anything yet apart from like their fragrances. So that is why I'm not really using this palette anymore. There's not really a point in me using this on my channel anymore because it like no longer exists. So that is why I wanted to rank this palette in place number 32. But right now it's just not really relevant anymore, so I'm not using it that much. In place number 31, I have the Morphe 35S Sweet Oasis eyeshadow palette, which is this one. This launched this year and it is a pretty good palette. I did a review on this. I'm not really super familiar with Morphe eyeshadows, so I can't really say how they usually are. They're definitely not the best quality eyeshadows, but for the price you're paying, I think you're getting a bunch of quite nice eyeshadows. This is just a palette that I just haven't used a lot this year. mainly because the colors are so bright and I'm not just like the biggest Morphe fan, so that is just why I just haven't used this palette a lot this year, and that is why I'm ranking it in place number 31. And then in place 30, I have my other Morphe palette, which is the 35i Icy Fantasy one. This is definitely one I like more than the other one because I just feel like this color story is so adorable. I really wanted this palette when it launched because I really like the pastel shades in here. And this is what it looks like. I definitely think this is a fun little palette. However, pastel shades are really hard to make, and I feel like these just aren't the best pastel shades out there. I did enjoy the looks that I created with this. I just didn't use it a whole lot, but I got both of these for my boyfriend as well, and I just have a hard time decluttering palettes that I got as a gift. I just don't like doing that, so that is just why I'm keeping it. Maybe I'm going to use it again someday to try it out, but I don't think this is like available anymore. So yeah, those are both of my Morphe palettes in place number 31 and number 30. In place number 29, I have my Art Revolution Tasty Marshmallow Wonderland eyeshadow palette. This is such a cute little eyeshadow palette, and it is the first eyeshadow palette from Art Revolution, or Revolution in general, that I have tried. There are pressed pigments in here, so some of these technically aren't eye safe, but I didn't find any staining on my eyes really. But this is what the palette looks like. As you can see, it's just a little cute like purpley pink color story, and I just wanted this palette because it's absolutely adorable. I did a review on this, so I will link that down below if I don't forget, but I'm ranking this in place 29 because I have only used it one time. I did quite like it, but it is just not like my all-time favorite palette in my collection. However, I think for the price, it is a pretty good eyeshadow palette. Just keep in mind that most of the shades in here are shimmers and that some shades technically aren't eye safe, so you can decide for yourself what you want to do with that. But I just wanted this because how cute is this packaging? It's just too adorable. Then in place 28, I have my Natasha Denona Mini Retro Eyeshadow Palette, and this is what that looks like. I think we all know what this looks like because it is a pretty popular palette. This is kind of a palette I'm liking sometimes and I'm disliking sometimes, and I don't know what it is. There's only two mattes in here, so that makes it a little difficult for me to create a cohesive look with this. It is a nice little palette. I just don't really think I can create a big variety of looks with this, and that is why I'm ranking it in place number 28. In place 27, I have my Sigma Beauty Cinderella eyeshadow palette. This is one that is such a cute little collab. I really wanted to buy this because how beautiful is this? We all know I'm a big Disney fan, and that is why I really wanted to get this palette. I also thought the shades were really unique and different, and I really thought overall this was a well thought out palette that I really like the color story of. But the time that I created a look with this, it just wasn't the easiest to create a look with. It still turned out nice, don't get me wrong. I definitely think there's a lot of nice shades in here. It just didn't work the same as my Ambiance palette or my Corte Rosa palette. It was a bit more difficult to work with, and I don't think that's bad. I don't mind working a little harder to create like a nice eyeshadow look if I enjoy the palette, but I just cannot rank this as high as my Ambiance and Corte Rosa palette because I do enjoy the quality of that one a little bit better, but I still think this is a really nice palette. In place number 26, I have this little palette from Zoeva, which is the Zoeva Cocoa Blend Voyager eyeshadow palette. This is what it looks like. I think this is a really cute little travel palette. I don't have much to say about it. It is a good palette. It's not the best palette, but it is a decent palette. I did create pretty looks with this. It's just not really anything that special. It's just like a nice little convenient travel palette. So this goes in place number 26. Place number 25 goes to the Kylie Cosmetics and the Grinch eyeshadow palette. This is the eyeshadow palette that she released for the holidays last year, and this was a palette that so many people wanted. It sold out so fast. This is what the color story looks like. As you can see, this is also more of that green toned color story. It's a little similar to the Avocado Toast, and then it just has a little Grinch right there. I just think this palette is so adorable and so cute, and I'm happy to have it in my collection collection, but I just don't use it as much as some of my other palettes because of like the green tones in here. I'm just not a big green eyeshadow fan, but they do look pretty and I like using them every now and then. So place number 5 is the little Kylie Cosmetics and the Grinch eyeshadow palette. Place 24 is probably going to be a little shocking to some people, but in place number 24 I'm ranking my Natasha Denona Love palette. This was a palette that kind of disappointed me. It's not a bad palette whatsoever. I really like it, but this is what it looks like. I just don't think the pink and red shades look really flattering on my eye. I'm usually always a big pink eyeshadow fan, but I feel like the pinks and the reds in here have a certain undertone that always look a little off on my eyes. I don't really know how to explain it. It is a nice palette. The shades work well. I just don't find that this palette is the most flattering pink tone palette that I own. So that is why I'm ranking this in place number 24, but it is a nice little palette. I just don't use it a whole lot because of the shades. In place number 23, I'm ranking my Colourpop Strawberry Shake eyeshadow palette, and this is kind of the same story as the Natasha Denona one. The shades are cute. They're kind of similar to the Natasha Denona one actually, but it's just not my favorite color story because of the undertone of these shades. They are pretty, but for some reason they just look a little bit off on me. But it is a nice little palette and I really like it to create like a really bright, fun pink eye look, which I should definitely do sometime again. So yeah, this is a really nice palette. It's not my absolute favorite in my collection, but it is really nice. Place 22 goes to another Colourpop palette, and this is the Colourpop Granger palette. This is one of my favorite Colourpop palettes actually. I thought this was really good. I did declutter quite a few Colourpop palettes this year, but this is one that I've kept because I thought it was a really nice palette. It's more of that warm toned color story. There's something about these shades that I just feel like is really special, and every time I create a look with this, I really like how it turns out. I'm not reaching for this one as much anymore because I'm not really into Colourpop a lot anymore, but it is a nice little palette. I just don't think it's available anymore, unfortunately. Place number 21 is my Colourpop Frozen 2 Elsa palette. This is a really nice Colourpop palette as well. I don't use the pressed glitter and I've never used this blue, but all of the other shades are super beautiful and I feel like you can create gorgeous looks with this one as well. There are some pressed pigments in this one too, just like the Revolution one. I never really experienced any staining from pressed pigments, but that can happen, so that's a choice you have to make for yourself. I just thought this was a really fun little palette, and like I said, I'm a really big Disney fan, so I just really want to keep this in my collection because it is really, really beautiful. So that is the Frozen 2 Elsa palette in place number 21. Place number 20 is another Colourpop palette, and this is the Colourpop and Bambi eyeshadow palette. Look how tiny this one is. It's so adorable, and again, I really wanted this one because it's Disney themed and it's just adorable. Look at that little Bambi right there, and the shades in here are just really warm toned. So this is what the shades look like. We all know I'm not the biggest warm toned eyeshadow fan, but this one for some reason I really like when I wear it. I think it's different, I think it's pretty special, and this is just one that I really, really enjoy. So that is why I'm keeping this in my collection. This might be like the most special Colourpop palette that I have in my collection. So that is in place number 20, the Colourpop and Bambi eyeshadow palette. It's just so cute. Place number 19 is my Natasha Denona Bronze eyeshadow palette. This is a beautiful palette. I picked this up with 50% off, which was honestly an amazing deal, and I just think this is such a beautiful palette. The reason why I'm ranking this in place number 19 is simply because I'm not the biggest warm toned eyeshadow fan. These are more of like those red toned eyeshadows and really those bronzy toned shadows, which I think are beautiful, but I also feel like they aren't the most flattering on my skin tone. So to be honest, this is a beautiful palette. I just had to rank it in place number 19 because for me it doesn't look as good as I had hoped it would. Place number 18 is my Urban Decay Naked Honey eyeshadow palette. This is a beautiful eyeshadow palette too. I got this for a really low price as well on sale, and these eyeshadows sort of give me that same vibe as the Bambi palette from Colourpop. They're just pretty warm toned, but they're a bit more of that golden yellow toned, and I just feel like this is a really beautiful palette. I really enjoy using this, and you can definitely create beautiful golden looks with this one. So that is the Urban Decay Naked Honey. This is actually the only Urban Decay palette that I have in my collection. Place number 16, I have my Too Faced Gingerbread eyeshadow palette. This used to be my favorite palette for a very long time, but it's technically expired. I don't really reach for it a lot anymore, but this is one, as you can see from the pen on some of the shades, I used a lot. It's just one that I really wanted, I absolutely loved, and I feel like this is a really nice Too Faced palette. This is probably my favorite Too Faced palette that I have ever tried because I really like how cute it is. I like the gingerbread theme, and the shades works really nice as well. So I still really adore this palette, and that is why I ranked it in place number 16. I'm just realizing I forgot place 17, so let's talk about place 17. In 17, I have my Sigma Beauty Corte Rosa eyeshadow palette. I prefer this palette over the Cinderella one. I feel like this is a really good pink toned eyeshadow palette, and as you can see, you also have some like warm tones in there, some lighter tones. And I just feel like this palette is a really nice palette with really good quality. So if you are looking for a nice pink toned eyeshadow palette that's not like only pink but also has some like different tones in there, then this one might be one for you. It's a really nice palette. That is the Sigma Beauty Corte Rosa palette. In place 15, we have the Colourpop Going Coconuts eyeshadow palette. This is a really good Colourpop palette. I think this is my favorite Colourpop palette. Look at the shades. They're super beautiful, neutral brown toned eyeshadows, and this middle shade right here called Cocoa Crush, so beautiful. It's like the most special Colourpop shade in my collection. It's absolutely beautiful. And you can really create beautiful brown looking eye looks with this. I think this palette is amazing, and I really like it. So that is the Colourpop Going Coconuts palette. If I would have to recommend one palette from Colourpop, it would probably be this one because it's really nice. We're almost at the top 10, but at place number 14, I have my Sigma Beauty Ambiance palette. This is another great Sigma Beauty palette. It's my favorite palette from Sigma in my collection, and this color story again, it really reminds me of that Urban Decay Naked Honey, kind of mixed with the Natasha Denona bronze palette in there. I hope this is in focus, but this is just a really pretty neutral toned palette with like a slight warm undertone to it, and I feel like every time I create a look with this, it turns out really pretty. So if you are looking for a nice neutral brown toned palette, then you might really like this one, and I know a lot of other people like it too. So this is definitely a lot of people's favorite Sigma palette, and it's my favorite one from Sigma as well. Place number 13 is the BH Cosmetics Passion in Paris palette. This was the first palette from BH Cosmetics that I've tried, and I was really impressed by the quality of this. Look at this color story, it's super beautiful. All of these shades are like themed around Paris, like names of Paris, and I really like these deep blues in here and then these reds. I just think this is a really special palette, especially for the price. It's absolutely beautiful. These red shades, however, have like a slight pink undertone to it, which was the only downside for me about this palette. It would have been nice if they were like true reds, but on the eyes they do translate a bit more bright pink. But nonetheless, it is a beautiful palette and amazing quality for the price. So that is the BH Cosmetics Passion in Paris palette in place number 13. Place number 12 has to go to my Colourpop Blush Crush palette. I was lying about that Going Coconuts palette. I thought that was my favorite, but I forgot about this one. This is my favorite Colourpop palette. This is such a cute little romantic, adorable eyeshadow palette that is themed around pinky toned eyeshadows. Look how cute this is. The only reason I'm ranking this not higher is because one of the shades all of the sudden fell out of the pan, which I'm still mad about. Like, why did that fall out? That was a beautiful shade, but overall I still really like this palette. The shades are beautiful and I really enjoy using this one. So that is the Colourpop Blush Crush palette. Place number 11, we're getting to a point where it was so difficult for me to choose, but in place number 11 we have the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Instant Eye palette. This is a absolutely beautiful palette. So this is what it looks like. I have talked about this one before. It is an amazing eyeshadow palette to get that pillow talk look. It's absolutely stunning and it is one that I really enjoy using. The reason I'm not ranking this higher than place number 11 is because sometimes these shades can pull a bit more corally on my skin tone rather than like a light pink. So that is the only downside for me about this palette. Some shades are a bit more warm on me and I still think that's pretty, but I prefer like the true pillow talk shade, kind of like that more pink tone, but it's still a beautiful palette and I really enjoy this one. So this is definitely a nice recommendation if you like these types of shades. Place number 11, we have the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice eyeshadow palette. This is a really nice Too Faced palette. It's my current favorite one from Too Faced. And look at this. How cute are these shades? I love that this palette has sort of like a fall and then a spring side to it. I just feel like the pastel shades here really scream spring, and then the darker shades at the left here really scream fall. So I just feel like this palette has a lot of variety in here. Every time I create a look with this, I really like how it turns out. Unfortunately, this palette is no longer available. They do have a new version this year, which is the Cinnamon Swirl palette, but unfortunately the Pumpkin Spice palette isn't available anymore, but it is a really cute palette, so this had to be in the top 10. From this point on, most palettes are going to be Charlotte Tilbury, with an exception of 2, I think, but my Charlotte Tilbury palettes are just my favorites in my collection. But in place number 9, I'm ranking this year's holiday quad little palette of pearls. First of all, the packaging is absolutely amazing. I really love this palette. It's so beautiful. And then the shades, you guys, absolutely stunning. This is a duochrome. As you can see in the mirror, it's more of like a gold, whereas here it's like a pink, so it kind of shifts, as you can see. Every time I create a look with this palette, I just love how it turns out because of this shade. The other shades are super nice as well, but this one is definitely my favorite. It's so special and I absolutely love it. So I definitely recommend picking this up if you like these types of shades. At first I was kind of scared that my look was going to be all shimmery, but it definitely is still a cohesive look and it doesn't look weird or anything. It is just a really beautiful palette. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Celestial Pearl palette of pearls. In place number 8, I have my Exaggerated eyeshadow quad. This is one I really like as well. It's one of my favorite Charlotte Tilbury quads. This is what it looks like. This palette is beautiful for that rose gold look. I think I prefer this over the Pillow Talk quad. I've swatched the Pillow Talk quad a couple of times and I just prefer this one because this is truly that rose gold look that I really like. And I just feel like every time I create a look with this, I absolutely love how it turns out. So this is definitely a really beautiful Charlotte Tilbury quad. I really recommend this one too. In place at number 7, we have the Golden Goddess eyeshadow quad from Charlotte Tilbury. This is a beautiful little quad as well. This is also more of like a recent addition to my collection, but I really like the gorgeous brown look that you can create with this, with like a slight hint of gold. So it's not like too gold or anything, as you can see, but this pop shade here just really gives a beautiful gold look to the look, and I just really like this. I think it looks beautiful with like a brown eyeliner. It's definitely one of my favorite Charlotte Tilbury quads. I absolutely recommend this. It's so beautiful. Place number 6 is another Charlotte Tilbury quad, and this is the Uptown Girl. This is one I was surprised by. I think I saw Morgan Turner talk about this and then I really wanted it. So this is what it looks like, and as you can see, it's really different. It's more of like a cool toned eyeshadow palette with like sort of like a pinky shimmer, and it's absolutely beautiful. I know not everyone is a fan of this palette because of the color story, but I think cool toned eyeshadows are really underrated, and I tried this palette recently a few times and I just really love how it looks on me. I think I like cool tones on me more than I like warm tones on me, and this palette really made me discover that. So I'm super glad I have this palette. I really enjoy playing with this and I've been loving to wear cool tone shadows as well. In place at number 5, we of course have another Charlotte Tilbury quad, and this is the Hollywood Flawless Eye Filter in the shade Star Aura. This packaging never really wants to show on camera, but look at that. How gorgeous is this packaging? And then the shades, I'm not going to talk about this for too long because I have talked about this quite a bit on my channel recently. These are just such beautiful, like soft brown pink shades that are absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love this palette. I think it's so beautiful. That that is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Eye Filter in Star Aura. Place number 4, this one is together my favorite with Star Aura because this is another eyeshadow quad from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the one in Fire Rose. This quad is so beautiful as well. I absolutely love this one so much. However, I never really talk about this a lot on my channel anymore because it's no longer available. This was limited edition for the holidays of last year, and then they brought it back in March, which was when I bought it myself, but after that it has just been discontinued, which is so sad because this is a beautiful palette. How beautiful are they? This one in Star Aura are my absolute favorite Charlotte Tilbury quads at the moment. They are so beautiful. But in place number 3, we have my Tarte Tartlet Juicy eyeshadow palette, and this is such an underrated eyeshadow palette in my opinion as well. I think this palette is absolutely beautiful and it really deserves more love here on YouTube. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this, but I don't get it because it's truly beautiful. I did a review on this and I really like the look that I created in there. And I mean, look at this color story. This is just the type of color story that I get super happy about. You have your pinks, your peaches, but you still have your browns as well. And this in a way reminds me of the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk eyeshadow palette as well. It's so beautiful, and look at these shades. I mean, I just don't get why not more people talk about this. It's absolutely stunning and I really enjoy this one. In place number 2, you guessed it, we have the Natasha Denona Retro palette. This palette I discovered this year, it came out this year, and I absolutely love it. This is a beautiful mauve toned eyeshadow palette. You can create so many different looks with this, but they are all that gorgeous mauve tone, and I mean, just look at this palette. Again, I'm not going to be talking about this for too long because I have already talked about this multiple times on my channel. It's absolutely beautiful, and if I would have to recommend one Natasha Denona palette to you guys, it would be this one. Absolute favorite. The quality is beautiful, the shades are beautiful, and I just really enjoy this one. So that is the Natasha Denona Retro palette in place number 2. And then of course we are missing one eyeshadow palette from my collection, which is in first place. And my favorite eyeshadow palette at the moment is my Charlotte Tilbury Instant Eye palette in Smoky Eyes Are Forever. This is what I'm wearing on my face right now, and it is what I'm wearing most of the times nowadays because it's such a beautiful palette. This was gifted to me and I really like this. I mean, the color story is beautiful. You have a variety of different looks. You have basically 4 looks that you can create. I also really like mix and matching between these shades because they're all so stunning. And you guys, this palette is my absolute favorite Charlotte Tilbury palette at the moment. I feel like everyone needs this and everyone would love this. It's absolutely beautiful, and this had to be in place number 1. Okay everyone, then this was it for my ranking all my eyeshadow palettes video. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and let me know what you thought of this ranking. Did you agree with how I ranked these, or would you have ranked them differently? I would love to hear that as well. And if you did enjoy this video, then I would absolutely love it if you gave it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of my videos. All of these things would help me so much with my channel, and I'd really appreciate it. But with that said, and to thank you guys all so much for watching, I really hope you have an amazing day, and I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye!